Listen, the only reason I'm going out of my way to tell any of you this is because the story, Jane the Killer, is starting to piss me off. My real name is Jane Arkansas, aka Jane the Killer, and this is how I met Jeff, the reason I look the way I do, and why I want to kill him. When I heard that a new family had moved in across the street, I wasn't that surprised. It was a nice neighborhood, and the house was relatively cheap considering where it was. I guess I was 13, maybe 14, when everything went to hell. I never really talked to Jeff when he moved in. To be frank, I never talked to him until that night, but it's too soon to talk about that now. My first impression of Jeff was that he was a good kid. He probably got nice grades, really got into fights, maybe even a cool guy if he opened up to someone. His brother Lou seemed like he put family first by the way he sat with his brother on the sidewalk. Of course, I was just guessing at the time and really didn't mean to put much thought into my analysis because I was getting ready for school when I looked out the window and I was running late, which was unusual for me at that time in my life because I was hardly ever late for anything, especially school. I wasn't surprised when I saw Randy and his stooges go up to Jeff and Lou on that stupid skateboard of his. Randy was nothing but a bully. He always picked on anyone who was smaller than him. He was even the reason why my parents drove me to school instead of letting me take the bus like everyone else. Everyone had their money or some kind of cash to give to Randy and his goons because of some toll that he demanded from everyone. We all knew Randy's group had knives and threatened to use them on us if we ever told anyone about the money they took from the other kids on the block. Everyone except the new kids they were trying to intimidate like the rest of us. When I saw Randy talking to them through the window, I just looked away. It was a wishy thing to do, but I had better things to do than watch another kid hand over his money to Randy. But curiosity got the better of me, and I looked up a few seconds later. What I saw left me speechless. Jeff was standing now, and it looked like Randy already had what he had wanted. Just sit down, I thought. Don't be stupid. Then I saw Jeff punch Randy in the face and break his wrist. Oh my God, I whispered, then I yelled, "You idiot!" My parents ran down the stairs and asked what happened. They looked outside and saw what was going on. Jeff had already cut the skinny guy, I think his name was Keith, and he went down screaming. Troy only went down with one single punch. Since my house was across the street from where Jeff and his brother were sitting, with the front of the house having big windows, we saw the whole thing. Or at least I did. My parents came in after the part where Randy stole their wallet, so they didn't know the whole truth. It was disturbing to watch Jeff fight. He was enjoying himself way too much. I felt a knot in my stomach like something was happening that shouldn't be, and from the look on Lou's face, Jeff didn't do this thing often. Next thing I knew, I hear sirens and the new kids bolted out of there. The cops came around with the bus driver to check on the victims. It seemed like they were going to be alright. Considering the amount of crap kicked out of them. Since my parents' policy was no cops, ever since my dad got framed by a narc cop when he wanted to draw attention off himself when police were investigating the case of the missing coke. It ended up with my dad quitting the force, so when we heard sirens, we went into the backyard and got into the car and left. When my parents drove me to school, they told me very clearly that they didn't want me talking to Jeff. Ever. I did not disagree with them. I had art first period, so I didn't see Jeff until close to the end of school. I can still see the colors in my artwork if I think hard enough, but when I try to look at anything now, it all seems gray. I guess that's the price someone pays for losing their innocence. I didn't see Jeff until the final period of the day. When I did, he seemed off. At first, I thought he was just faking the joy so people wouldn't suspect him for the crime that he did, but he really was enjoying himself. It wasn't because he was excited to be at school. I could tell that much from him. The smile he wore looked sadistic to me. It was the smile of a madman. The second that bell rang, I bolted out of those doors as fast as I could. Nobody but me knew what Jeff really was. A freak. The next day seemed to be passing without incident at first. Then I saw the police car in front of Jeff's house. Looks like they got you, I thought. Nobody could have gotten away with something like that, with the neighborhood watch and everything. But I was wrong with who they arrested. instead of coming out with Jeff like I expected they would, the police came out with Lou, his brother. I was barely forming the thought of Jeff framing his brother for the assault when he came out of the house yelling at Lou, "Lou, tell them I did it!" I was able to hear him from this time because the front door was open in my house. I couldn't hear what Lou said in reply to Jeff's outburst, but it was definitely not what Jeff wanted to hear. A few seconds later, the police drove off with Lou, and Jeff was left outside with his mother. A few minutes later, she went inside the house and left Jeff outside. Although I couldn't hear him from across the street, I could tell that he was crying. But who wouldn't be in that situation? The next day, rumors were spreading like wildfire about Lou. It took so long for the rumors to get started because everyone was afraid to talk about Randy getting his ass handed to him. When it was revealed that he wouldn't be coming back to school for a few days, everyone decided to take advantage of the fact and enjoy it as much as possible, and lots of random bullshit started popping up. I heard Lou cut off Troy's arm. Oh yeah? Well, I heard that Lou hit Keith so hard in the stomach that he raffed up blood. That's nothing. I heard that he punched Randy so hard in the nose that it came out the back of his head, and etc., etc., etc. Personally, I didn't want anything to do with his Jeff or his brother, but he just looked so alone and sad that I had to do something. So I wrote him a note telling him that he had a friend in this place and that I was going to testify at Lou's trial about what really happened. I left the note at his desk, signed with the letter J, before class started, then left the room. When I came back, Jeff was at his desk and the note was gone. Saturday rolled around and I was home alone while my parents were out at work. The kid next door was having a birthday party, and at the time, I left my window open because I wanted a nice breeze in my room while I did my homework. But the kids were being so loud that I decided to close my window. I was about to close it when I saw Jeff playing with the kids. He was running around one of those fake cowboy hats and carrying a toy gun. He looked so ridiculous, I had to laugh. Maybe he isn't the monster I think he is, I thought, ashamed of myself for suspecting that he could have been one. As I was closing my window, I saw Randy, Keith, and Tony jump over the fence on their skateboards to where Jeff was. Not again, I said to the open window. I saw Randy and Jeff exchange small talk, but I couldn't hear what they were saying over the sound of the kids yelling and screaming. Then Randy rushed at Jeff and tackled him. I was about to grab the phone and dial 911 when I heard Tony and Keith shout, "No one interrupts or guts will fly." I looked out the window again and saw that they had both matching guns in their hands. I couldn't have called for help then without endangering the lives of others. I couldn't have called 911 anyways. The batteries on my phone were dead. Jeff was on his side getting kicked by Randy in the face when he grabbed his foot and twisted it. Randy fell over and Jeff tried to walk back to the house when Troy grabbed him by the collar and threw him towards the house. I heard glass breaking and I knew then that they were going to kill him. "Randy, you asshat!" I screamed at him, but he couldn't hear me over the sounds of kids screaming. I couldn't wait anymore, so I ran to my parents' bedroom and searched for my dad's cell phone, hoping that he forgot it at home. My heart was pounding in my chest, knowing that the longer it took for me to get help, the higher the chance of someone getting killed was. I finally found the phone underneath the bed. I wasted no time punching in the numbers. 911, hello? I need help. There's an emergency going on next door. Some guys jumped the fence and are beating up someone. They've got guns and need to hurry, please. Okay, miss. I need you to tell me the address and I'll send help right away. I quickly told her my address and the address of the door of the house next door. Please hurry, I said. Okay, just stay on the line. Bang! 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 I heard loud gunshots come from next door. I yelped and dropped the phone, it landing on the ground and broke. Then I ran into my bedroom window and tried to figure out what was going on. But no sooner had I poked my head out the window, I heard a whoosh of a fire and then screaming. I'm going to make Jeff scream like that again when I find him. The only thing I can compare to it is the death cry of an animal. It was at the time for me horrifying, but now it sounds like music to me, and there's nothing I want to hear more in the world than him screaming. I saw fire spew out of the house like an angry dragon. I ran downstairs and immediately got the portable fire extinguisher from the kitchen and ran outside. As I was running, I popped the pin for the extinguisher in immediate use. Luckily, the door was unlocked, and I barged in when I saw Jeff. I completely froze. He was lying at the bottom of the stairs, almost completely on fire, with adults trying to put it out. I saw bits of his skin through all the commotion, some parts pink, some parts charred, but it was all covered in red. At the sight of all of this, I screamed, and then I passed out. Last thing I remember is some of the adults running towards me, whether it was to help me or get the fire extinguisher. I don't know. When I came to, I was in a hospital bed wearing one of those gowns that a patient wears. A nurse came in a few moments later. She had long brown hair and a bun hidden under her hat. She looked like she didn't want to be there. I asked her what happened. "All I know is that you were brought in with a few other kids because you fell and hit your head on a fire extinguisher," she said, annoyed. A fire extinguisher? I reached up my hand and touched my head. I felt bandages and a large bump the size of an orange. Then I remembered Jeff. "One of the guys that came in here with me, the one with the burns, is he going to be alright?" She said, "Listen, there were 2 boys that were brought in with you that had burns, and no, I'm not letting you see him just because he's your boyfriend." I felt the heat rise in my face. "He isn't my boyfriend. I'm just worried about him. Wouldn't you be worried about someone who you just saw burning alive in front of you?" I tried to keep my voice steady, but my voice quivered enough to make it sound like I was lying. "Whatever. Your parents are here, by the way. Want to see them?" she asked. "Yes, of course," I said, anything to get me away from that nurse. My parents came in and the nurse finally left. They asked what happened. I told them everything, the fight, the note, all of it. "I knew that Randy was no good," my mom said. "So have you heard anything about Jeff's condition?" I asked. "No, not a thing," said my dad. "We got here just as soon as we heard about what happened to you." "But who told you?" I asked. I didn't think I saw anyone at the party that my family knew. "The hospital called us," Mom said. "Well, I guess that makes sense. It made absolutely no sense to me, of course. How would someone be able to identify me without having any form of identification?" I looked in the doorway and saw a man and a woman standing there. My parents followed my gaze and saw them too. "Excuse me, but is this Jane Arkansas's room?" the woman asked. "Yes," my mother answered. "Who are you?" "I'm Margaret, and this is Peter, my husband." She gestured to the man beside her. "We're Jeff's parents." I sat up in my bed. "I'm Isabel, and this is my husband Greg, and our daughter Jane." Mom gestured to me. "So you're the girl who ran in with the fire extinguisher," Margaret said. "Yes," I replied quietly, embarrassed. "Is your son all right?" "He just came out of surgery a few hours ago. The doctor said he'll be fine." I relaxed at that thought. "That's good," I said. "Listen, I know what happened to Jeff and Lou on their first day of school." Then I told Jeff's parents what really happened to Randy and his crew. "We had no idea that Jeff was capable of something like this," Peter said. "I'm willing to testify that Lou didn't beat up anyone and that Jeff only beat up Randy and his gang in self-defense." "No need," said Margaret. "Lou is being released from jail after what happened to those boys." "That's good," I said. "We just came to say thank you for trying to help our son, Jane. It warms my heart to see selfless people in your generation." I blushed. I did anything anyone would have done in my situation. I looked down. "I'm not a hero." "Nonsense," Margaret said. "The least we can do is invite you over to our house for dinner when Jeff gets out of the hospital." I looked at Mom and Dad. "It would be an honor," my mom said. "It's settled then. We'll call you as soon as Jeff gets out the hospital." We said our goodbyes, and then they left. About 2 days passed, and I was allowed to be released from the hospital. During that time, I had no contact with Jeff or his family, but I heard that Lou was released from jail and Jeff's wounds were healing. When I got back to school, I became the center of attention, more or less because I was the only one who saw what happened at the party. But the only people I told what happened were my friends, Danny, Marcy, and Erica. I didn't know what to tell them, so I told them what I saw. "Sounds like Jeff got his ass handed to him," said Danny. She had raven black hair with sapphire blue eyes. She was usually the most level-headed of us. "Well, at least he went down fighting. I heard he took those idiots to the hospital with him." Erica snickered. She always dressed like she was from the 80s or something, long, thigh-high, rainbow-colored socks with her hair to match, and always wearing some kind of backpack with her. He also took Jane to the hospital. Maybe she was trying to beat him up too. Marcy laughed. She seemed to be the girly girl of her little group. She was Stop!